Hello, lovers. It's Miss Kimmykins. For tonight's Sensual Saturday, I'm going to do something different. I'm feeling a little melancholy, if you will, thinking back on some of the times that I've had with some of the lovers in my life. And I would love to share an experience with you. So, if you would allow me, get comfortable, relax, and listen. You know how we do things here in Miss Kimmykins' universe. So grab a glass of wine, or hopefully you are cuddled up next to your favorite lover. I hope that my story inspires you to try a little something different. Give something out of the ordinary a chance, because you just never know when or what or how you're going to get to the highest peaks of pleasure. So let's begin. Now, lovers, in order to protect the completely satisfied, Miss Kimmykins is going to edit the names and the places. But if they ever hear this, if they ever hear this, they will know exactly who they are. Now, I've told you I have had a few lovers throughout my life, but one in particular always stands out. And if I must say, I would consider him one of the great loves of my life. All good things come to an end, but that's okay. It's the memories that you have, the experiences that you share. And I promise you, lovers, no matter what happens, Miss Kimmykins is an unforgettable experience. I want to tell you about one time in particular where we decided to just take a little weekend trip to get away. We would do that quite often, just to spend time together away from all the noise in our lives. Now, to see us together was not necessarily an odd thing, but we were a bit of an odd couple. Me being the voluptuous SSBBW queen that I am, and him being a very slender man, slight in height as well. But let me tell you, lovers, this man has the most delicious brown skin of any man that I've ever encountered in my life. And when I tell you his skin is the color of the motherland, and I loved and adored every inch of it. So it was quite odd, I'm sure, seeing how physically different we were. But oh, we had wonderful times together. So we traveled to one of our getaway spots. And again, if you know Miss Kimmykins, and if you've heard previous story of mine, then you'll know how much of a fan of coconut oil I am. Don't worry, lovers. I will give you some detail about the coconut oil and how it will add another level of ecstasy to your lovemaking. He turned into a fan of coconut oil as well. Needless to say, by this point, I always had it with me. So we check into our hotel. We get clean, we get comfortable. And we're laying together just in the silence. And I am a woman who loves to please her partner. If you've ever had an encounter with me, you can say many things, but you will never say that you are dissatisfied. So I'm laying there next to him, touching him and pressing my face into his skin. It was so soft. Running my nose up and down the middle of his back. Kissing him delicately. Making him shiver. Giving him goosebumps. I'm caressing and touching and feeling every inch of him. And I tell him, say, let me try something. And lovers, I told him that before, and it always ended so very well. He smiled and he said, "Oh shit." But again, he knew that it would be something fun. And listen, again, Ms. Kimmykins is all about pleasure. And if you know me, you know I am not ashamed to talk about anything that I have done. And with that being said, I am a lover of sucking dick. It is an art to me. It is one of the greatest ways you can communicate with your partner and let them know exactly how you feel. So when I do it with vigor. I do it with love. I do it with good energy. And I do it with coconut oil. So he gets into his relaxed position and closes his eyes. And he allows me to take over. He doesn't ask any questions because, again, he knows out of all things, he is going to be satisfied. And most likely, his nutsack will be completely empty by the time we're finished. I grab my jar And I position myself between his legs, laying flat on my stomach. I take the coconut oil in my hands and I allow the warmth to liquefy the coconut oil. I took a generous amount because I want this experience to be extra slick, if you will. And before I could even do anything, his penis was standing at attention because he knew what was coming. I placed one hand at the base of his penis and the other at the top. He was very well endowed, so the head of his penis was sticking out the top of my hand. And I just began to slide up and down, squeezing lightly when I got to the head. And he started to breathe heavy. I told you the coconut oil just adds an extra something. It adds a wetness, a moisture, a slickness. It enabled my hands to slide up and down his shaft ever so delicately without missing not a single stroke. And the more I went up and down with both of my hands, his dick got harder. And it made me moan. You see, my lover's pleasure is my pleasure too. And when you are connected to a person, you experience pleasure together, as it should be. I slid up and down, and I added a twisting motion to my hand that was at the base of his penis, while still using my other hand to just go in an up and down, up and down, up and down motion at the top, still delicately squeezing the head of his dick between my thumb and forefinger, squeezing it and making it tight as though he were inside of my pussy. He gripped the sheets. I gripped his dick tighter. And I started twisting the hand that was at the top of his penis. So now both of my hands were twisting, but in opposite directions. And he curled his toes so hard I heard them crack. And he gripped the sheets a little tighter. We were both breathing so heavy. Our hearts were beating so loud. But I wasn't done. I then took my mouth and placed it on the top of his penis, still twisting the hand that was at the bottom of his dick. And I took my other hand, and because there was so much coconut oil, it had run down to his nutsack. So they were nice and slick and ready to be played with. I grabbed them in the palm of my hand and I twisted very delicately, almost like a pair of dice. Twisted his nuts between my fingers, just letting the coconut oil just slide between my fingers, letting his nuts slide between my fingers and the head of his dick in my mouth, base, my hand at the base of his penis twisting in another direction. It was 3 different levels of pleasure, and I moaned while I sucked his dick. And he gripped the sheets even tighter. He grabbed a pillow and put it over his face to suppress the loud moan that was coming from the pit of his stomach and working its way up to his chest, into his throat, and out of his mouth. Oh my God, is what he said. But I still wasn't done. See, we were so connected. I knew when he was getting to that point. So I stopped. And then I made my way down to his nuts. And I sucked one and then the other into my mouth, leaving his penis just standing straight in the air, pulsating. And I used my tongue to twirl his nuts from one side of my mouth to the other, making sure I had both of them nestled behind my tongue. And then, while his nuts were in my mouth, I used my tongue to lick that spot that's right underneath the nutsack. You know what area I'm talking about. That little stretch of skin, muscle, that little spot that whenever it's licked or kissed, it gives you a little tingle. I gave it a lot of attention with the tip of my tongue while I still had his nuts in my mouth. Yes, Ms. Kimmykins is a professional when it comes to sucking dick. And you can never forget the nuts. You can never forget that little spot right underneath the nut sack. It is a whole experience and a whole other level of pleasure. You should try it out. But you have to be gentle. I let his nuts fall out of my mouth. I used my nose to push them out of my way. And I went full on with my lips on that little spot underneath his nutsack. And at the same time, I took my hand and grabbed his dick and just started stroking the head very delicately with my fingers. Slowly, gently, taking my time. And again, because of the coconut oil, there was no friction. There's no difficulty. So no need to worry about brush burns or having to stop to get more lubrication. I'm telling you, coconut oil is really a miracle, and you should try it. So I started to kiss that little spot, using my tongue like I was French kissing a pair of lips. And again, I did it slowly, gently, tenderly, making sure that he felt the heat that was coming from my mouth. And he sat up on his elbows and he looked down at me and he shook his head from side to side. Because let me tell you something. One thing about Miss KimmyKins, no one does it the way I do it. So I knew what he was thinking. And I just looked up at him with my eyes. And I closed them again and I went back to French kissing that little spot beneath his nutsack. And I slid my hand down the shaft of his dick and I just started stroking. And I started twisting and I brought him right to the edge. And I stopped. I know what you're saying. You're such a tease, but teasing, letting it build up. Oh, letting it build up. When that dick does spit, it will be an epic feeling. I kissed my way back up from that little spot underneath his nuts. I kissed his nuts and I grabbed his dick and I kissed all the way back up and I kissed around the head of his penis. And I asked him again, will you let me try something? I told you I wasn't done. And he looked at me and he said, what do you want me to do? And I said, I want you to turn over. And so he did. Still very uncertain of what it was that I was going to do, but I told you I just wanted to make him feel a level of ecstasy that he had never felt before. You see, lovers, when you are with the right person, you can be vulnerable. You're willing to try things. You're willing to do things. You're willing to be open. I asked him to scoot to the edge of the bed for me because I needed to kind of stand up and lean over at the same time. So he obliged, still not knowing what my plan was. But I tell you what, though, that dick was still rock hard. So I grabbed his dick from behind and started stroking again. And in this position, everything, and I mean everything, was in my face. So I grabbed his nutsack again and put it in my mouth, just sucking ever so gently. Because if you're going to suck on the nuts, you have to be gentle. You have to be delicate. You have to be tender. Because if you're too rough, it takes the pleasure out of it. But again, it's something I enjoy doing, so I have my method. And I just kept his nuts in my mouth, continued to stroke his dick. I allowed my tongue to go in a circle. He was still gripping the sheets and pushing his face into the mattress, but I could still hear his moan, like music to my ears. I let his nuts fall out of my mouth and I went back to that spot right underneath. And I let my tongue do a little tap dance just to give him a different feeling. And I slowly worked my tongue up and gave him a little rimming. And if you don't know what rimming is, I'm about to explain it to you. And I know he had never had the experience before because of his reaction. Rimming is when you just take your tongue and play around the asshole, not in it, but just right on the outside, right around it. And my goodness. Well, I know what you're thinking now, Miss Kimmykins. His asshole? Yes, his asshole. But I did tell you that we cleaned ourselves up before we got into bed. So I was safe. Nothing against people who are into the other stuff. But Miss Kimmykins doesn't play dirty. I continued to just let my tongue go around his asshole in a circle, letting him get used to the feeling, letting him relax more, letting the tremors go through his body, because at this point, he was just shaking with pleasure. I knew he was right there, ready to pop like the cork on a champagne bottle. But I let his dick go one more time. And I just continued to let my tongue play around the outside of his asshole and just give him the chills. And I felt him moving and just gripping the sheets tighter. And at this point, his face was turned to the side, his mouth was wide open, and he was just breathing like an animal. So I said, I think it's time. I think it's time to let him pop. So I took my titties out. And I bent his dick back a little and cuffed them in between my titties, using my arm to support and just hold him there. And I continued to rim his asshole, and I started to move my titties up and down as though he were titty fucking me, basically, but just not very fast. But the feeling, oh, the feeling, could you imagine that feeling? Oh, his dick slick with the coconut oil and sliding in between my warm titties. Up and down while I licked from his asshole to right underneath his nutsack, just up and down with my tongue. And him continuing to and I started to move a little faster. And I felt his body tense. And oh my goodness. When he let out that, I'm about to come. I'm about to come. I'm about to come. I licked a little faster and a little harder. I made sure his dick stayed nice and tucked in between my titties. And I started sliding up and down even faster. And and I felt that cork pop. And he was so loud while he was coming. But I didn't stop. I kept going. I kept licking up and down. And I kept his dick in between my titties. Because again, Miss Kimmykins isn't happy unless the barrel is empty. And I made sure that barrel got empty. When I knew he was done, I released him. And he couldn't do anything but fall to the bed. And I stood up. My titties sticky with his cum. And I started squeezing my titties together. Just watching his cum just move around in the crease. And I told him, I said, watch me. He very weakly, very, very weakly turned and looked at me. And I started licking his cum off of my titties. And he said to me, "You are a bad girl." I replied, "I know, and you love it. That's why you fuck with me." Oh, he couldn't even move. I went to the bathroom. And yes, I brushed my teeth. Yes, I rinsed my mouth, for anyone who's wondering. I cleaned myself up with a smile on my face. I got back into bed. Oh, he couldn't move, y'all. I had to cover him up, pull the blanket over him, make sure his head was on the pillow. I put my leg across his back, my foot between his thighs. I got close to him. And I kissed on him for a little bit, stroked his hair until he fell into a deep sleep. Eventually, I fell asleep too, and When we woke up, I asked him, I said, "You gonna let me try something?" His response was, "Oh shit." But I tell you what, lovers, that dick got hard and was ready to go again. Like I said, I like to make sure my lovers are satisfied. And satisfied he was. So, just an FYI, coconut oil, cold pressed, virgin. Amazon sells a wonderful brand called La Tourangelle. Trader Joe's has a good brand as well. Make it a staple in your lovemaking, in your pleasure giving, in your penis and pussy pleasing. But do a little test first, make sure you're not allergic. But I promise you, you'll never, ever use anything else ever again. It's also good for the older ladies who experience some things when it comes to their pussy. It'll keep you moist and wet just like you need to be. Anyway, lovers, thank you for letting me take you along a little trip down memory lane with me. While he is no longer my lover, and I do miss him a great deal, I know he misses me too, because there's no way he's getting that kind of treatment from anybody else. But it's okay, because I know I cross his mind, and I know he thinks about all those times we had together. And I like to think that he busts a nut every now and again with me on his mind. Anyway, if you hear this, I miss you. Call me. Good night, lovers. See you soon.